felt this like drift away from what was important. It's a burden sometimes to constantly be analyzing. You're trying to protect your family, you're trying to protect your friends, you're trying to protect your situation. It's just exhausting.
I love that it's not just about pipelines and spreadsheets. It's about like, what are the people behind the deal? Like, how did faith come into all the different ways and things that the change has come over the years?
I would hope that they see a change, or else I've got more work to do.
If you could go redo anything, what would you do? Welcome to First and Focused, the podcast where faith meets leadership. I know you're going to put me on the spot. I don't know what you're going to ask me to say. I'm Mark Greaves, and in each episode, I sit down with business and industry leaders who put God first in their work and stay focused on building his kingdom through their calling. I could sit here and talk with you all day.
Keep up the great work, brother. The Lord is using you powerfully. I love you. I love watching what Jesus is doing in your life.
All right, welcome to the First and Focus show, where we bring in leaders from various industries who are putting God first in their work and their calling and staying focused on that throughout their mission. Today, I'm extremely excited and pumped up about this one because I have my co-founder of Tithe Lending, personal good friend, Mr. Brian Ziemer, in the studio. Brian, welcome.
Thank you. I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun for me.
All right. Me too. Let's go.
I've been looking forward to this a long time. So the hardest part for me has been narrowing down what to ask you, mostly because I know a lot of stories that you probably don't want to tell on here. I know a lot of funny stuff. A lot of funny stuff that's happened over the years. So I'll try to keep it professional as best I can. But everybody starts with an intro, so let's give them the intro. So Brian Ziemer, you are currently the co-founder and COO of Tithe Lending, a faith-centered mortgage company headquartered in Columbus, Ohio, whose mission statement is to honor God through mortgage and love your neighbors with generous giving. You've led global operations for multiple large mortgage operations, some VC-backed, with department headcounts numbering in the high hundreds. You've navigated both business and faith through multiple economic boom and bust cycles while maintaining an optimism for the American homeowner and a love of your vocation. You're a father of two now adult children, Reagan and Zach, a graduate of The Ohio State University, go Bucks, an avid volunteer at various local nonprofits, Columbus, Ohio native, and a lover and follower of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Sound good?
That's spot on.
Obviously I know that the lover and follower of Jesus Christ part is the thing that's most near and dear to your heart, but I've also know that, being a father to Reagan and Zach is near and dear to your heart. The city's near and dear. We're going to cover a lot of these topics, but first question I have for you is, I've known you now 17 years, if you can believe it.
I cannot.
Isn't that weird?
I know, it is.
I still remember the first time I ever met you.
Yeah, I know.
I remember walking into your office and like shaking your hand and being super nervous because at that point you knew infinitely more about mortgage than I did, which is still probably true, but at that point it was like a really, really wide gap.
Well, it was mutual because you were pretty well hyped, and so I got to meet the legend.
Oh, yeah. Oh, thanks. Well, the question I have for you, though, I've never really asked this, so it'll be good to get on record, is like growing up, I've known you as a man of faith, the entire way through and through. Obviously, both of us are living that out more seriously now than we were before. But was faith always a part of your life growing up? How did that start?
It's amazing. It wasn't. I did not come to Christ until my mid-30s. And so prior to that, I was sort of living for myself and what I thought was the best way to go forward. But, it just wasn't a big part of my childhood. We would go sporadically. And it just sort of didn't take root until later on in adulthood.
Did you feel like something was missing? Like what brought you to faith?
Bringing me to my knees brought me to faith. I think when it was a really dark period in my 30s, when I was divorced and some difficult times, and it was when I really sort of capitulated and surrendered, and I could feel this presence that I couldn't explain. Saying that I got you, but you need to turn it over. I can't help you doing what you're doing. You need to surrender, give me control, and I will take care of you, right? I will provide and give you peace, give you rest. And ever since then, I've followed that strategy.
So
of surrender.
This is off. I've got a boatload of questions, but I just got a follow up to that. So like being in control, that's kind of like your job description. A lot of that is like planning and making sure that contingencies are covered, and like you're an operations person. Is it weird to turn over control in this, basically not just this area, but when you turn it over to Jesus, you're turning over your whole life. Was that hard to do?
Absolutely. But as experiences racked up after that, I could see it was the right call, and it was refreshing. There was a freedom about not feeling like I had to see around every corner, and that's sort of how I walked around, is that, that I had to anticipate, things that were coming, and just the freedom of surrender and knowing that I don't, he can, and he'll take good care of me. But it was tough at first, but ultimately it's been so rewarding. It's changed my life to not think that I've got to see everything coming. I've a peace that knowing that whatever comes, if I rest in Jesus, I'll be okay.
Well, I can tell you firsthand that's been helpful for me to have you as a business partner, being that mindset, because there's a lot of twists and turns. I mean, in our business, there's been tons of them in the last few years, but having somebody that can plan for the future, but knowing that even though the future is uncertain, that we have clarity and hope because of our beliefs, been a massive help for me. All right, so you've got this is a different kind of question, but I've already almost asked it. You've got a very analytical mind, like hyper analytical mind. You've described it as a condition that I'd never heard of before. That was like on Facebook. That was funny. But you see things from a different lens, mostly through the amount of adversity and responsibility that you've had. So is that something that you feel like has helped you in your walk with Christ? Like, how did he gifted you with this? So how has that played out for you?
Well, I think being able to be thoughtful and prudent about the resources that he's chosen to bless me with has benefited from surrendering to him, and realizing, again, that I don't have to analyze everything. It's a default mindset for me. And, to the earlier point, it's something I've had to fight against. And I still plan, I still analyze, because it's a mental state, but I hold those plans much looser now, right? I realize, okay, that's what seems like the best path for the information that I have now. Right. And I'm not as nervous about the information changing, or if it doesn't go the way I thought. I'm grateful that, his peace is going to be beside me, whatever he throws at us. But it's a burden sometimes to constantly be analyzing, constantly trying to, and you do it for the right reasons, right? You're trying to protect your family, you're trying to protect your friends, you're trying to protect your situation, but it is just exhausting.
Yeah.
And freedom of Jesus is so much better.
Do you think it would have been different if you were in a different line of work? Or do you think that being in the mortgage business with the amount of things to be like considering all the time, do you think that that's amped that up?
Probably, yes. Absolutely. Because he's blessed me with a lot of responsibility, and I take that very seriously. And as you mentioned, there was a lot of folks who were depending on me to make sound decisions, whether it was the folks who owned the company or the folks who worked for me, depending on me to make sound decisions. So with a chaotic environment that mortgage often is, it's been probably related to the mortgage business.
So pivoting into that on the mortgage side, so I mean, part of what we love about this show is like work is worship if it's done with the right mission and motives and things in mind. And I know that you feel that way about mortgage. So while there's a lot of change and it is a difficult business to thrive in and be good at, you seem to love it. Like, what do you love about it?
I do love it. Right, because one, I like math, and basic financial math is good enough for me, right, to be good at. But we've talked about this, and every customer we work with benefits, whether it's a refinance or saving money, whether we're getting in the house. Like it's a vocation where the product of your work is helping someone else. Certainly, we get paid to do it, but you get a chance to literally talk to the folks who are closing on a new home or who are waiting to close on a refinance or pay out. You just get that personal vibe. And so I do love it. And it's varied. The thought of having to do something similar day in and day out, week in, week out, I'd have to find something to keep my mind busy if I went down that road.
Yeah. Yeah. When we had this situation, I just thought, it was beautiful the way you articulated it just the other day on the phone is, we're helping a woman who's first responder get into her first home. Doesn't have a ton of money for down payment, but we were able to help her with a USDA loan with no money down. She's getting a great interest rate, a house that she can afford. Just breaking into home ownership. There's more to it than just the finances and the nuts and the bolts of the deal. I mean, that's a person who's going to like raise a family potentially in this home, in this community where God wants them, and we get to play a part in that every single day. And you never let us lose sight of that. I love that it's not just about pipelines and spreadsheets. It's about like, what are the people behind the deal? What's happening in their life?
And the best part too is when they don't think they can do it, right? They don't think there's a program with no money down or with less than 20%. And so when you sort of catch them by surprise and you kind of feel it coming over them that, wait a minute, we could do this.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I totally. All right. So I had this question for you, and I don't think you've ever like necessarily looked at it this way, but you've grown up in Columbus through and through. I mean, you were born here, right? Like probably stone's throw from where we're,
it was really close, yes.
Or from where we're recording this. I feel like a lot of leaders in our city are either brought here by investors, they come here for opportunity, whatever that may be. You grew up here. And so now that we're reinvesting and we're helping, nonprofits that are helping struggling communities within our city where you literally were born and raised, is that something that's near and dear to your heart? Like, talk a little bit about that.
Oh, I absolutely love it. Now, we talked a second ago, I don't have a basis for comparison for folks who've gone into a new town and done it, but to do it here, to have my family here, to see friends potentially see a difference in me. And, with the work we've been doing with Tithe, I'm experiencing this incredible community of human beings that think as we do about faith and giving back and loving our neighbor. And they were here the whole time, it's just, I wasn't walking in those circles until Tithe. And it's just lifted my spirit tremendously. I think it's a great place to raise children. I'm excited that my kids have opportunity in this town. I'm excited for my family to get to see what we're doing. So you're right. It's been incredible. And I don't know that I really appreciated it until you sort of asked about it, right? It's a blessing, right? To see let your family see you evolve as a human being.
No, that's pretty special. Do you think we're friends of yours and people that you've known, since grade school, high school? I mean, I know you golf with people that you have known since you were a kid, right? Mm-hmm. Were they surprised when you made this move? If they are, they haven't said it, but they almost have to be. It was a pretty significant shift in the way I looked at things, the things that would come out of my mouth. Yeah. There's just more thought to it, and I would hope that they see a change, or else, I've got more work to do. Yeah. Well, I think you've demonstrated it. What's it like having adult kids now? Wild. The conversations we have are, about their fears and anxieties as young adults trying to step into the world, and they're in these places where I can't just go buy them a toy or rub them on the, they got to do the work. And I just want to be relentlessly supportive. And I think they're so special and so smart. But it's political conversations, economic conversations. That they actually understand. Oh, and participate in, very, very well. I mean, they've got some strong beliefs, and I feed off of that, right? The newness of their beliefs, and they came up in a different way than I did. But it's wild. Wait till your kids get a little older and the conversations that ensue. It's weird for me because I can remember distinctly walking into your office and seeing your kids in there. And I think they were a little younger than my kids even are now, like literally like coloring. There was a night you had to come back in and get some work done. You just brought them with you. And it's like, man, now they're adults. They have real jobs. They're talking about this kind of stuff with you. I'm not ready for that. Oh, you are. It's just a different kind of awesome. Yeah. I mean, being a parent has been, one of the biggest blessings of my life, especially with these kids. And you just ease into it. It feels weird now, but it doesn't happen overnight. It's a sort of a process. And when you get there, it feels like, an evolution. It's been fun for me to watch you, like how proud you are of your adult kids though. Yeah, they are. They're incredible. It is pretty cool. Blessing of my life to be their dad. All right. So how do I want to go with this now? Because I got two different directions that I could take it. Let me ask you this. As you were kind of going through and progressing through your career over the decades, especially after you came to faith, and you're balancing raising kids and you're balancing, changing, we were changing company names, we were building companies, some of them started from nothing, and there was a significant amount of work going on. Was it a challenge to your faith, or did your faith help in that process? Like, how did faith come into all the different ways and things that the changes come over the years? It was a challenge to the faith, in that I wanted to walk the faith, but the mortgage business was incredibly demanding. There is no 9 to 5 in the mortgage business, right? And,
you've got to pivot to market conditions. It's such an interesting business because I don't know how many industries there are out there where the price of your product is not in your control. The winds in that industry can shift on a dime, and they did in 21 and 22 and actually in 20. So just in the hecticness of everything that was going on, just to remember that I wasn't an executive at a company. I wasn't in the mortgage business. I was a child of God, and it was a little tougher. One thing that really helped me, though, was when I started reading devotionals in the car right before I would go in. I was blessed to get a devotional from a former family member, and I would sit there and I would read it in the morning before I would go in, and it just sort of armed me, but that didn't come till later.
Yeah.
I felt this like drift away from what was important from God. And the first easing back in was reading a devotional in the morning right before I got out of the car to kind of frame the whole day.
Yeah. No, that's a really good. If you could go redo anything, what would you do?
Oh, I don't know that I would do anything different. I mean, I think I would have read a devotional every day for the entire time that I was in the mortgage business, not just sort of come to there when things got, really difficult, and I needed that. But, I'm really grateful for the entire ride. So I don't really look back with much regret because I'm just doing the best I can like everybody else.
Yeah.
And regret's a terrible feeling, and I got to learn to cut myself a little slack and realize that, I did the best I could with the situation, I had.
Yeah.
It was a good situation. It was hectic. It was stressful, but it was still good.
Is there anybody that you look at as like kind of a role model now where you're like, okay, as I move forward, from here, not looking back, but looking forward, like this is kind of the path that I would like to take with the rest of my career, like someone that you would try to model?
Well, there's several people, right? One is the angel investor for our company. So I don't know if we have time to tell that story.
I think you should, yeah. I would love it if you did, yeah.
Incredible. I was blessed to have as a mentor and a boss from the time we started at that startup, right? Older guy, been in the business for years, and he just operated with such grace, almost unflappable, treated everybody with kindness. I maybe heard him raise his voice twice.
I do remember that.
Right. Yeah. And
not the raising
knowledgeable
voice, but just the way he was.
He just carried himself with such grace, and then he was a genius too. He parachuted out of the mortgage business at the absolute perfect time. And, you and I decided to go do this. And after we made the leap, there was no going back. We didn't burn the bridge or anything, but there was no going back. He reached out to me on Christmas Eve, 2022. And he texted me and he said, hey, what's going on? I heard you're leaving and I'd like to know what you guys are up to. Call him Christmas Eve. He's having people over that night for Christmas Eve dinner. And he said, hey, I heard Mark left and now you're gone. I was like, I got to know what's going on. So I told him all about it. And I don't think I was picking up his drift. So he finally just said, do you need capital? And I said, sure. I was caught off guard totally. And he didn't just say, do you need capital? He said, I want to get this done quickly. And he asked us, this is so interesting. He asked us what we wanted. He didn't have a number in mind.
Yeah.
He came to that in total humility and letting God lead. And he provided those funds, which were critical, as you well know, right, to getting off the ground.
Oh, yeah.
And he didn't want anything. I mean, he did take a stake in the company, non-voting, but he ultimately gave it back for $10.
Literally $10.
Literally.
Yeah.
Because all he wanted to do was help this mission. He didn't want his name mentioned. He didn't want any notoriety. And so that's one guy that definitely has changed my life. If I could go forward and have the resources to bless other missions, and I don't need to have my name be a part of it, the only name be known as Jesus. And then I've been blessed to get in this group, Truth at Work, here locally. And it's a Christian business leaders group. We come together once a month for 4 hours and we talk about our lives and leading with faith as our background. And, I've been in there almost 3 years now, and we've gotten to have some really great relationships with this group. And it's about a dozen guys. And these men, what they're doing with their careers, to see them do similar to what we did and just completely pivot. Some of them pivoting into an industry which they had no knowledge. And they are doing it fully with the glory of the Lord, and they just want to live out their faith in business. these guys are an inspiration to me every day, every time we meet. I'm grateful to learn from them. And there's one guy or a couple guys that are a little older, and the way they've lived their life and where they are, I'd love to be where they are when I get to that point.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've come to like lean on is like, I want to have less regrets when I don't have time left. So like, how can we live out the rest of our careers following the Holy Spirit and where Jesus leads, so that when we get to the end, we don't look back and think that any of this was wasted. So it's just listening and in prayer and trying to glorify the name of God. Yeah, that's huge. The Holy Spirit was so involved in that first story of our investor. I mean, that was one of those things I feel like maybe God knew what we were going to be up against in 2023 and 2024. Mortgage industry wasn't exactly doing great. But the fact that he provided that up front gave us so much wind at our back and so much confidence that we were on the right track. Did you ever talk to him about what came over him? Was it the Holy Spirit that made that move? Was it his love for you? Like what?
It was his love for the mission. He's in a good place in his life, resource-wise, and he had a generous spirit. And, I think the thought of bringing faith into business and talking openly about that. And, he didn't really know, nor did I, maybe you did, how the foundation would take off as a result, of Tithe Lending. Again, he had no idea.
I don't even think we talked about that because it wasn't really an idea we had yet.
No, I mean, we obviously wanted to support it and grow it, but like to the extent that it's grown, he had no idea. But just it came over him to be generous, have a generous heart, have a giving heart, right? And I think he had confidence in us that we weren't going to squander the resources or the opportunity. And he made an incredible selfless act.
Do you feel like, looking at the future now, is that kind of what gives you a little bit of peace? I mean, knowing that we already covered like the analytical nature of your mind and the preventative nature of the way that you plan and how serious you take those responsibilities, just watching how God provided in that moment, does that give you more peace about the future one way or the other?
Oh, 100%. And it's not just that moment. There was a couple of times where, it was a challenging environment. It was a difficult environment, 2023. The mortgage business changes, and there was a time we needed people, and your work on LinkedIn and talking about the mission, and 3 people just showed up. Said, "Hey, we want to come work for Tithe." There's been numerous instances like where when we really needed it, and I don't even think we knew what it was.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. It showed up. And that's why I sort of hold my plans loosely now, but I also just go to sleep with this. I go to sleep with a lot of confidence that we'll be okay. Yeah. We'll be okay. Even if it gets tough, don't abandon the faith. Don't worry. Matthew 6, do not worry about, providing for yourself. That's wonderful.
So we've kind of answered this question, but I'm curious if there's any other specific stories that you've got since starting this in 2023. Is there anything else that have strengthened your trust in God's plan, particularly when it comes to business? Because I feel like there's a lot of folks who want to incorporate their faith with their work, or they want to lean into more of a mission-minded business strategy, but they have apprehensions. It's hard to go in with trust initially if you haven't seen some of these things play out. So is there any other stories that you've got where you'd encourage people, like lean in?
Oh, but, do, and because I've seen people change industries. They really know nothing, right, and about that particular industry. One gentleman making chocolate. He's never made chocolate, and he's absolutely using it to that platform to glorify the Lord. That's not the only story, right, of folks stepping out, but there does seem to be this trend that I've noticed that they've got to step out first. Is what I've noticed, right? They've got to believe that they've got to figure this out, and he comes to bless that mission. So he got blessed with a beautiful piece of real estate. Everything's just sort of falling into place, and that's just one example. The folks with the Tithe Foundation, just to see how these folks are being open about it. If you look at LifeWise, we were just at LifeWise last night, and I know that's not our story. You know what I mean? But I was blown away at the growth and how they talked about how many times they didn't think it was going to work. And just like us, right, when they needed it, or they knew what it was, it it arrived. And so there are multiple stories like that where folks have stepped out in faith. Now they've been overt about their faith. And that is, that has given me a lot of peace that we're on the right track. But yeah, just folks stepping out in faith, whether their business and to be open about it, to talk about it, to tithe profit.
Yeah.
Right. To have their logo up, right, where everybody can see it. Right. That's what we've always wanted, was to sort of, maybe break any taboo we thought there was about sharing your faith in your business.
Yeah.
We're pretty overt about it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's okay if one isn't. But the number of people that seem to come out of I don't want to say the shadows, because they were only shadows to me.
Yeah. They
were out being great people all along. But the number of people who came and embraced it, the amount of money we've been able to give through the foundation, and it's not all from tithe. Matt Wooster, the partner you have that we have in the foundation, right? Incredible, right? So just seeing all these incredible human beings, and they put big resources on their
time.
Goals. Yes, and that's a big resource, right?
Yeah.
And so it's been really inspiring to know how many people either are doing what we're doing, open about faith in business, or are open to doing it. It's just really lifted my spirit, fills my cup, for sure.
Why do you think God makes it so that you have to take the faith step before he's going to show you what the next step of the path looks like? Do you feel like there's a reason for that? Like, what have you learned? Because you mentioned it, and I see it too. People feel a prompting. The Holy Spirit can be active and alive in your heart, but God's not just going to lay it all out for you. Like, he's going to make you take a step that looks real scary first. I don't. Why do you think he does that?
I believe it's a test of your faith, how you're willing to combine your faith. You know how I feel about the parable of talents, and I think it's in the Gospels twice. But each person got a certain amount of resources, and one grew it 5 times. He stepped out in faith. He wasn't afraid to lose the money, and we won't go through the whole parable.
Yeah.
But the guy at the bottom was afraid, and he literally talked about his fear, and he didn't really talk great about the person who gave it. And he was chastised. He was not rewarded. So to whom much was given, and you stewarded it well, you receive more. But he put the resources in their hands in the parable of talents just to see what they would do with it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And how I feel about that. And we need to be the person that grows it 5 times.
Well, you were the one that gave me the tagline, like, even David had to pick up the rock. Like, you gave me that whole thing.
Again, you're right. He can arm. That's a great story, by the way. That's my favorite story in the Bible. But, he can arm you and give it. But there's this moment where he needs you to go do it. This is just my personal belief, right? I'm not qualified to speak for anybody else but me. But I think there's this moment where he wants you to step out. I told you about the meme that hit me kind of hard. Was that, God said he would, give the birds and the bee and everything they need, but he didn't deliver it to their nest. He doesn't deliver it to their nest.
Oh, that's good.
So on one hand is, don't worry, look how well he takes care of, the animals and the birds, and how much better would he treat you. But he doesn't deliver it to their nest.
Yeah, there's no DoorDash for that. It's like it's not coming that way.
No.
That's good.
But that seems like it's all over, whether it's our personal experience, it's in the Word, right? He does it all the time to where, he needs you to step out and show that you trust him.
Yeah.
And then he rewards that.
Yeah.
Not every time, right? Let's be real, right? It's not.
And in different ways, and not right away.
It's not always monetary, but if you're paying attention, right, he's blessing you if you step out in faith.
I think one of the things he's blessed us, you've already touched on it with just like with your Truth at Work group, but who has surrounded us now? There's people that we've influenced that have now gotten in the game where they're revising missions and they're thinking differently about their work. And there's also people who are further along than us, who have come alongside us that, have been encouraging and helped us connect dots and things like that. I feel like one of the big blessings is when you step out, like God's ready there. Like there's a community, the body of Christ is ready to rally. And what I see is like a lot of these businesses that lean in, there's a bunch of people out there who probably want to, maybe just don't have the courage yet. Maybe they're a little bit afraid, but they're going to go support you and rally around that business or rally around that leader. And then the more of us that do, the more contagious it is. There's kind of like a gravitational effect to it. I don't know if you're feeling that at all.
Oh, absolutely. And what's interesting, though, is how I look back with hindsight. And for a long time, I thought I was a genius, and I just made all the right moves, right?
You're close in certain ways.
Well, I don't know about all that.
Yeah.
But, as I look back, though, in hindsight, all these things, that sort of fell into place and decisions that worked out, you really start to look at that and say, how many coincidences can there possibly be before there's an intelligent design to what's been going on? And, for the guy Truth at Work, I feel bad saying this, but I ignored him for a year, and he showed up at our table at a warm breakfast.
Yeah.
And I'm embarrassed, right? Because I've been ignoring this guy's LinkedIn reach outs for a year. I'm humiliating, really. And he showed nothing but grace, didn't care about any of it. And then lo and behold, that group's been one of the best things that's happened to me as an adult. But he was planning that the whole time while I was ignoring it. And then when that group got started, it only had 3 or 4 people. There's only 3 or 4 of us. And now it's 12 is sort of the max size. And so he is just working all the time in ways that we can't see, unfortunately, without the benefit of hindsight, unless we apply what we've learned to say, hey, wait a minute, maybe that's going on here and I just don't see it yet.
No, that's really, really good, because I feel like sometimes it does take us a while to get it.
Mm-hmm. I know it does.
Not everybody comes around right away. I mean, that's why the majority of, really up until just a few years ago, I wasn't doing it. I know that you and I had shared our faith together, but I was afraid to even go hit like on a LinkedIn post about God, and I sure as heck wasn't going and sharing it outside of the walls of the office. So it was, a lot of things have changed in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
So another follow-up question I have for you is, when you think about if there's folks that are like, hey, I could do that if I was in a different industry, but my industry is too difficult. Like I can't share this with customers. I can't go share this with referral partners. What would you say to the person who is maybe a little bit timid? Is there ways in which we operate that at Tithe, internally, that you think, hey, everybody could do that? That's not off limits to anybody. How would you encourage that person?
Well, I would encourage them to walk by faith first, right? And let folks see his light in you. And, not every business has that opportunity, whether they're not people intensive, and so do what one can do in the position you're in. I'm a big fan of volunteering,
That's my next question. For
you. Let folks see you volunteer.
Yeah.
Let folks see you love your neighbor. Let folks see you give grace when a normal person would have not done that. And you're hoping that they wonder what's different about you.
Yeah.
Because you're not acting like everybody else, or not, in my case, not acting like you have always acted.
Yeah.
So.
That's really good. Change and walk the walk. Now, you mentioned volunteering, and that's the thing that I this is my personal opinion. I've watched you change probably more specifically through hands-on helping people meet needs, whether it's Bed Brigade, whether it's homeless stuff, whether it's Mid-Ohio Food Bank. I know you're probably got a plaque on their wall at this point with how many hours you've served there. What is it about volunteering? What happens inside of you when you volunteer that you keep going back so often?
Well, first, I want to say a big part of my ability to volunteer, so many volunteering opportunities are during the week, right? So I have the time and the freedom. So if anyone's not volunteering, totally get it. It's, you've got to find that. But there are a lot of places, right? And a lot of times you can do it. And again, it goes back to thinking that it was me in this life. And, you get a chance to see folks who were dealt different cards. And, you feel for them, and you just want to come, how blessed you've been.
Yeah.
And at least for me, the thought that I could be any kind of a blessing to these folks, it really humanizes need. You read about it and it's sort of abstract, but go shake somebody's hand that you're handing a meal to, go to Mid-Ohio and see, a massive warehouse that's 40 foot high, stacked to the rafters with food that has come in from organizations that are willing to give it to an infrastructure that knows how to give it out. This the scope of the need, the human beings that are involved. It's really changed me. It's touched me. And I've come so far from thinking that I had a lot to do with how my life has turned out to really realizing that I was put in certain circumstances that allowed me to make a decision. But putting me in those circumstances, I've been really blessed.
Yeah.
Even just to have a middle class. I'm not grow up rich or anything like that. But just seeing the need, seeing how folks, if they had a different break, potentially wouldn't be where they are. It humanizes need for me.
Yeah. No, that's really good. I feel like when you go and meet certain people and you're like, wow, I'm having a conversation and just our set of circumstances were totally different. I'd probably be where you are if I was just born in a different place at a different time. It's just how it goes. So we kind of got a lucky card drawn, but I feel like some of that's our responsibility, like as men of faith, like Jesus says, like who you did for the least of these, you did unto me, right?
You know, I love that part too. I was actually just reading that, but yes, that is something that comes over me a lot. Actually, I've been doing the Bible in a year thing and for several years now. And, you know, I don't know how, that's a powerful set of verses right there.
Yeah.
What you did for the least of these, you did for me.
Yeah.
What you did to the least of these, you did to me. And so it's just, I don't know, I get sort of speechless, and you know I'm rarely speechless, but just to be around those other folks who also want to be the hands and feet.
Yeah.
So you humanize the need, right? This is the cool part. You humanize the need. You really understand folks didn't make a bunch of bad decisions out there. They're not there because they were foolish with resources, most of them. And, you know, then you get a chance on the other side to work with so many people you didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
It's this entire community. And oftentimes folks don't volunteer at one place. You'll see them at other places. And so it's on one hand, you're humanizing a need. On the other hand, you're seeing the depth of the love that people other than you have been walking around with all this time.
Yeah.
And it's just, you combine those two forces and it's, I don't know. It really, really gets me fired up, and it makes me feel like I'm doing the best I can to walk the walk.
Well, I feel like this next question you're going to tell me, I think I kind of know where your answer is going to go based on this answer you just gave. But at our current business, so we don't give 10% of the profit. We give 10% of the revenue, which in this past year, 2025, was almost all the profit, like 90+% of it. Like it was. Does that ever make you nervous?
No.
Because I would say if I interviewed 10 CEOs or COOs and said, hey, your company's a for-profit business, but you're going to give away all the profit, they would probably say, well, that's a nonprofit, right? Like that's why. How are you able to operate this business for us, knowing that that's going to be how it goes, and still have confidence for the future?
Faith. You know, I've seen what he's done, and I don't even know what's in the future. No idea. But he has provided whenever we have needed. And the reason why we're close to being a nonprofit is because we're giving that money out to love our neighbor. You know, when we started this, it was just love on our neighbor. It's right in the word. You know, we talked about this in our last conversation. Peter asked, what are the top two? And number 2 is love your neighbor. Yeah. And so, you know, that's been real special for me.
Yeah, no, that's good. So when you think about, if you could go fast forward and look back and they're saying like, hey, this is the legacy of Brian Ziemer and Tithe Lending, what would you want, like your kids, what would you want people to know about you based off of what you were trying to go do with this mission of Tithe?
You know, it's interesting because one of my favorite songs is Only Jesus. And it talks about make a name for yourself and whatnot. And it says, no, the only name is Jesus, right? And so I'm kind of a literal guy, as you know, sometimes. And so I don't know that I ever think about that. I just want them to look at the product of Tithe Lending, that the foundation has grown, the foundation is giving. And I know this sounds weird. You know, I don't mind being in the background. You know, I don't, you know, I'd like for my family to know that I walk the walk. It was important to me because I want to leave a mark on them and show them the way, lead them to Christ. But I don't think at all about my legacy ever. You know what I mean? I'm a grateful dude doing, you know, performing an opportunity that I've been so blessed to get. Yeah. You know, my name I almost feel is irrelevant.
And that is why I think it'll end up being pretty special to those that you leave behind here, because not many people give that answer. There's not many C-suite executives that will give an answer that has nothing to do with themselves.
Well, there's hopefully there's more than we think, and we'll find them in the coming years, and they'll join the foundation, and we'll grow the foundation and the giving together.
Well, I can tell you, that's why I love being your partner. That's why I love the conversations we have every single week, staying grounded in the mission, staying rooted in the reason why we started it. and then staying true to it, walking it out even when it's hard, and just trusting that God's got the next steps, and we're just going to keep living this thing out the best way we can.
I completely trust.
Yeah.
No worries, no fears.
Well, I love it. And that gives me all the reassurance that I need. So, well, any parting words for the audience here?
Trust, surrender, a couple of key words in my life. And when I'm anxious, which is a lot, mind you, I remind myself that it's not on me. At the end of my strength is the beginning of his. And so I would just encourage people who are anxious. I don't know of a better cure for anxiety than trusting Jesus.
Yeah.
I don't, and so I would just encourage people, when you're scared, crack open a Bible, talk to somebody that has faith, let them talk you through how they've had difficulty and they were steered through it. Some things happen. He doesn't, he won't call you to it if he's not going to walk you through it.
Yeah.
He doesn't call the equipped, he equips the called.
Yeah.
I love the one-liners, but it's all relating to trust and surrender. And it's given me a tremendous peace in my life in these last few years with Tithe that I've never had as an adult. I've always been scared on the inside that I'm going to make a mistake. I'm going to disappoint someone. I'm going to let them down. And I don't have that anymore, because I know I'm doing the best I can, and I trust, I surrender.
It's pretty cool. Well, thank you for being the backbone of our operation. And also thank you for being the backbone, just not of your truth at work. There's something special about men who can be the backbone and the foundation and do the hard work behind the scenes without ever having a desire to get the credit. But it's even more special to have those do that work with the desire to have Jesus get the credit. So just thank you for everything that you do. I really appreciate it.
I want to take this time to thank you. You've done an outstanding job advocating for the Lord. You're out front, you're public, the people we get to work with. I'm so grateful to work with those folks. But, I really feel like God has his hands on this mission, and you're the one out front leading it, and it's tough to be out front. And I just want to thank you for the relentless way you've gone about promoting Tithe, promoting the Lord in business. You've been a real blessing to this mission, and you're the one leading this mission. Well, and I'm grateful to be your partner.
I appreciate it, man. And likewise. So, well, we're over and out for everybody watching. If you want access to more episodes, this one or any of the other resources, you can get them at markgreaves.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for watching the First in Focus show. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and then share with a friend.